Do you like using metallic shimmer ink sprays? In this video, I use them to add the wow factor to embossing folders. Hello there, Michelle Short here with Terrific Tags with Michelle. Today I have a tag to share with you using metallic shimmer ink sprays. So let's get started. I've started off by cutting one of the larger Terrific Tags dies from watercolour paper, and I'm going to place it inside the Versitile Florals 3D embossing folder. This is such a beautiful folder that coordinates with the Versitile Florals stamp set, and also the coordinating die as well. I'm going to place it towards the top of the folder. I want there to be some space that isn't actually embossed. I think it just enhances the embossing further by actually having some space that isn't embossed. So I've run that through my die cutting machine and I've got that beautiful impression there of the flowers and the leaves. I then want to add some colour onto the tag, and ordinarily I would jump sort of towards ink blending, but I thought that I would use the metallic ink sprays today. So I'm starting off by adding a layer of water using the fine mister bottle. And then I'm going to go in with the metallic shimmer ink sprays. So I'm starting off with Lavender Fields. This is a really beautiful purple colour, and I'm adding it towards the top of the tag and then also towards the bottom. Adding quite a lot of it. I do want that really nice purple colour. And then I'm going to go in with Ocean Waves and add that in the middle. And these colours blend really nicely together. I'm then taking the mister bottle again and kind of splurting it as opposed to spraying it. I thought that it might add some interest onto the tag. I'm not sure this step was actually necessary, and I do go back in and add some more colour over the top anyway. I'm just dabbing off the excess from the sides of the tag, and then I'm going to start heating this so that I can dry that ink. Ordinarily I probably would sit it aside to dry naturally in the air, but drying it with the heat tool isn't too bad either. It does just warp the tag a little bit. So I'm just kind of heating that to start with, and then I figured that actually I lost a lot of that purple colour, so I'm going to go back in with the Lavender Fields, and then I do go back in with the Ocean Waves as well. I want that colour really quite saturated, and then I'm going to heat it again. So that's going to dry the ink almost completely. I don't get it so that it's perfectly dry, but so that it's pretty much like 95% dry. And you can see that beautiful shimmer. It's just so pretty, but you've also got the colour of the sprays as well. So as you can see, it did warp quite a bit, but I didn't actually lose any of the embossing. But I am going to run it back through my die cutting machine with the embossing folder, just so that it helps to flatten it a little bit. I don't think it necessarily made the embossing any clearer, because these embossing folders are so 3D that you don't really lose much of the embossing, which is great, but it did help a tiny bit just to flatten it. It's still a little bit warped though, but I'm going to set that aside to completely dry while I work on the sentiment. So I'm taking the sentiment that reads "Sending Big Hugs" from the Flower Vine stamp set. I've used this stamp set lots of times. It's one of my favourites. I really like the vine images in the set, but these sentiments I just absolutely love. I really love that they're really quite small, so I think they work for lots of different card designs. Sometimes you just want a really small sentiment. So I've prepped some black cardstock with an anti-static powder tool, removing the excess powder. And then I'm going to ink up the sentiment using embossing ink. I do apologise that I'm off screen while I'm inking up the stamp. I find that stamping sentiments with the MISTI, I do prefer to have it in the horizontal form rather than the vertical form. I think that it kind of levels out the stamping a little bit better, but that's just my personal preference. So I've stamped it with the embossing ink, which is a clear sticky ink, and now I'm applying a pure white crisp embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat set that with a heat gun until it's completely melted. I'm trying not to overheat the embossing powder because otherwise it can go a little bit grainy. And then I'm just removing that anti-static powder with a cloth. I've then taken the Hello sentiment from the Versitile Greetings Die Set, and I've cut that from black cardstock and layered 3 on top of each other. I did this in my last video, so I didn't think it was necessary for me to show that again. I'm just doing the exact same thing but without using the shadow. I've then cut another tag from Classic Crest 110 soda white cardstock, and I'm just lining those 2 tags back to back. That's going to help to flatten that embossed tag, but it's also going to give me a really nice crisp white tag so that I can write a personal message on the back of the tag as well. So just lining those up as best as possible. I'm then taking the whole reinforcer kind of image or die from the Labels and Tags 2 die set. I really love adding these onto tags. I think it just gives a really nice finishing touch. So I'm just adding some glue onto the back of the piece here to start with on the front of the tag. And then the hole for this piece is actually a little bit smaller than the hole on the Terrific Tags set. So I am going to add one on the back as well. So that's just going to cover that up and it's going to look nice from the front and the back. So just adding some glue onto the back of that, and then I can stick that down as well. I'm then also adding some glue onto the back of the hello word. And then just using some tweezers to help me with the placement, I'm going to adhere that down onto the tag. And ordinarily I wouldn't usually add a sentiment right in the middle of the tag, but actually in this instance I thought it looked really quite nice just right in the middle. So I'm going to bring in my T-square ruler here just to make sure that that word is straight, and then I can add something heavy on top while the glue dries. I'm then cutting a small amount of instant dimension foam tape, and I'm adding that onto the back of the sentiment strip. I can remove the backing off of that foam tape, and then I can place that down onto the tag underneath the hello word. Just really pressing that down. Obviously the tag is quite dimensional, so I'm making sure that all of that adhesive is well stuck down. And then I can add some twine through the top of the tag. So I kind of feed it through and then tie it in a bow at the front. And then it does take me a little while just to fiddle with that bow to get it kind of how I want it to be. I'm trying to make it so that each side of the bow is sort of equal. But I kind of want them to be kind of, I don't know the word really, kind of like fluffy, quite open and rounded, if that makes sense. And then I can cut off the strings of the bow. I did think about adding embellishments onto this tag, but ultimately I really liked it as it is. That metallic spray just really gives that wow factor onto the tag, and I don't think it really needs any extra bling or anything like that. You can really see that saturation of colour there when I sort of tilt it in the light, but you really get a beautiful shimmer off of those sprays as well. Links to the products that I used will be listed in the description bar on YouTube and also over on the Altenew blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.